Stress is something that you have to deal with in everyday life. And today I want to talk about how we deal with stress, how we react to stress. And we've got Jo here with us today because she can give an outside perspective on how I deal with stress. We can talk about how you deal with stress and how we both differ from it. And I think it's going to be interesting because the way that we deal with stress might be similar to how you deal with stress and how we react to it. So I guess I'll kick things off here. When I'm stressed, I like to isolate myself. So I'm sure you've noticed, like when I'm in a bad state of mind or I'm finding something a bit overwhelming, I like to lock myself away. I like to shut myself off from everyone. And just before I ask you what your perspective on it is like, I'll talk about a recent time when I was completely overwhelmed. So I've been doing these cold calls for a marketing company, and phoning people is something I've always found very difficult. It's something I've always found that I was always terrified of phoning people. And I don't even like answering the phone. I've got my phone always on silent. I don't like it even making any sort of noise. And what I would have to do is shut myself off. I didn't even like you in the room when I'd make the calls.
I'd have to leave.
I'd kick you out.
Yeah.
And then I'd start making the phone calls. I'd mute myself. So just for context as well, I'd be on Zoom with the other people in the company. And I'd mute myself on there, make sure I'm deafened so I can't hear the other people talking. Then I'd make the call. And it felt like I could put all my energy into the call then and like no one was watching me.
Yeah.
It was that feeling of like being watched that I didn't really like. But there was this one particular time that happened kind of recently when we're on the call and they asked me to keep my mic open and do a phone call. So I start ringing and the person doesn't even answer. So it's okay. But then I kind of freeze and I look up, and the only way I could describe it was stage fright. It actually felt like stage fright where I just couldn't even talk anymore. And I said that on the call, I said, I can't do it. And I kept fumbling my words. And I said it felt like I was naked and everyone was looking at my privates. And that's how it felt. It felt like everyone was staring at me. It felt like everyone was looking at me. It felt like paranoia. But that's a prime example of how I deal with stress. What do you think? How have you seen that in me?
Your reaction to stress?
Yeah.
Yeah, you do tend to isolate yourself. I think for me, because I react kind of the opposite to you, I try and I can tell when you're stressed because you want to isolate and because you don't want to talk about it. If I ask you what's wrong, you don't tell me anything. I know something's wrong because you won't talk to me. So it's like me trying to get information out of you at that point is impossible, because the more I ask you, the more frustrated you get and the more stressed you get. So I have to just be like, are you stressed? Yes, okay. And then I have to just leave you alone. I can't do anything else because I know you won't react to anything. You know, I can't comfort you because you don't react well to that. I can't ask you because you don't react well to that. So I just sort of have to acknowledge you're stressed and leave you to process it.
Yeah, I don't know why I react like that, but I find it really hard to be asked questions of any kind, like what do you think of this? Oh, how are you feeling? For some reason, when I get asked, are you okay? That's the most like triggering question for me when I'm stressed, because I'm in my mind it's like I'm not okay, like I don't want to answer this question. But then I also find like I'm so overwhelmed with that feeling, and that's all I'm focusing on, that I can't even like be touched or anything.
No.
Like you might try and hug me and I'll be like, I
can't give you any physical comfort. Like if I try and hug you, even if it's something that's like upsetting, if I try and hug you, you almost like freeze up.
Yeah.
Like you
and
might,
that's just how I
like
react.
if I'm doing this, you might sort of be like back to me as like I acknowledge this, but I don't want this. Well, I've got to the point where I just don't even try and do that now, because I just, like I said, it's not something that you appreciate at the time, and I don't think it's an additional stress that you need for me to be touching you. Is not something you really need on top of how you're already processing.
But
stress.
then I know that when I'm like that, you feel like you need to try and help me, which makes it worse in a way.
The reason why is because that's how I want to be when I'm stressed. I look for comfort. So I do it to you because I think that's what you want, even though I know that's not what you want, but that's because how I would react and what I would want from you.
Yeah.
So it's a complete opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah, and that's why it's interesting us talking about this. But then when you are stressed, I think sometimes you get a bit overwhelmed, and you feel, I think sometimes I have to help you like break things down into like a manageable how
Yeah.
can you deal with this sort of thing?
When I get stressed, I think, because initially I think about it as like this big thing, and it overwhelms me instantly. And at the moment, like prime example, like wedding stuff, like I know there's so much still left to do, and what, about a month left now, and there's still loads of stuff to do, and I've had a week off work, and I've actually been quite productive because I wrote it out in like daily things, and I'm like, right, today I'm going to do this, tick it off, right, that's my job done, I can rest for today. We've been doing that, and I mean I've got most of it done now, but at the beginning of not last week, the week before, I was panicking because I was like, I've got all this stuff to do still, and I'm like, how am I going to get it done? And I was just getting, it was almost like I needed to do stuff, but I'd make myself so stressed that I was too tired to do anything.
And you did do nothing.
And I didn't do anything,
Yeah.
and then I got mad at myself because I wasn't doing anything, and I was like perpetually in this loop of feeling sorry for myself and being angry about it, and telling myself like, just break it down. And then obviously that's what you do, is you help me break it down. You're like, right, well, let's do one thing at a time and tick it off, then move on to the next thing. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Realistically, that is all it is. And you'd think with my job role, like, I'd be good at doing that, like from a managerial point of view, about delegation, but I'm terrible at doing it for myself.
But you like to do everything yourself.
I do like to do everything myself. I'm a little bit of a control freak in that sense. But again, I think that's just because that's a learnt behaviour. It's a coping thing for me as well. Like, I like doing it myself because I know that if it's done correctly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not to say that other people around me won't do it correctly. I just know that I have a way that I like to do it, so I'll just do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, I get overwhelmed with things quite often, particularly with, well, anything work-related. I might have done something at work that I feel like was wrong and be ruminating on it, or I might be ruminating on YouTube. Ruminating is something I do quite a lot.
Yeah.
And then I might get overwhelmed with the amount of videos that I want to make. And the only thing that really helps me is actually just getting into it and making some videos. Like, sacrificing time that I could spend having fun and spend it working instead, and that makes me feel better about my situation. It actually makes me feel happier. Like this morning, I just got stuck in with editing. As soon as I had breakfast, I was like, I'm editing a video.
Yeah.
And yesterday it was like my winding down time, and I went downstairs and I recorded 3 videos because I was just like, I just want to do something where it'd be like this weight of the feeling of the day where I feel like I've wasted so much time today, and then it's a big burst of like, I need to get stuff done. And that's a form of stress in itself. Like, it's constantly in the back of my mind, like, I need to get more done. I need to do more.
Prime example is what we're doing right now.
Yeah, like right now.
It's 7:46 on a Sunday, and I was in bed an hour ago, and now I'm sitting here because you wanted to do a video.
Yeah, and we're going to be going to the gym in 40 minutes or so. But I just wanted to squeeze it in because I thought that this is an interesting topic. And again, it's like I said, I just want to get things done. I'm that kind of person. What are you going to say?
I was just saying, though, I think that you turn sort of stressful tendencies, not tendencies, that's probably the wrong word, into productivity is what I was trying to say. I don't know if tendencies is the right
I'd say
word.
I see it as hyperfocus.
Yeah, I suppose you're using your hyper. This is why, like I was saying about people who have autism or ADHD can sometimes use that to their advantage.
Yeah.
Because I would say that you do get extremely hyper-focused, but from what I've seen, it's always in a productivity kind of way.
It's not always. I mean, it's like I said earlier, ruminating is a form of like my hyper-focus going somewhere where I don't want it to be.
In terms of, for example, if I'm just talking about YouTube, I would say your hyper-focus has allowed you to create, well, a very successful channel because you're constantly working
very
on it.
Successful.
I mean,
that's an overstatement.
I mean, in considering the time frame, like the explosion that you had, like that's because you kept working on it.
True.
Although that being said, I have said to you that like I'm recognising signs when you're getting burnt out, and I do tell you maybe you should slow down and like just take a day off, and you don't respond well to that because you're like, well, no, I need to keep.
Yeah, I need to keep the ball rolling. I need to keep
which
going.
I get, but.
Well, it's just that feeling that it's a self-pressure where I just feel like I want to make use of my time.
Yeah.
And
you don't
I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels like if I sit there and I'm trying to relax or trying to look for a game to play, it just stresses me out and I just want to work on this.
Yeah. I think sometimes as well, though, because of the way you handle stress or react to stress, I think sometimes you forget how to relax.
I do. I feel like I've forgotten how to
relax because
One
you're
thing
constantly thinking about work.
One thing I want to bring up, this is kind of a completely different topic. Could be a whole different video. But there's been loads of times when I am trying to relax. Yeah. And then say, for instance, we invite a friend to play a game and then he says, oh, I'm busy today. And then what you'll catch me do, I'll be staring at Steam. Yeah, I'll stare at the Steam
I'll be like,
store.
okay, well, this is something else. And Jake will go, no, and has to ruminate. And then opens Steam up and then goes, I don't know what to play, so I suggest about 10 games. No.
Yeah, it's because that initial plan was ruined.
So then I'm waiting because I want to do something with you, but then you don't do anything, so I just do my own thing, and then you start getting again.
I pretty much end up doing nothing, don't I, when that happens? Like, literally until it's bedtime.
I'll just find something to do. And
I'll look at the store whole, like, for hours until it's bedtime. And
like, if someone's not busy, that's fine. I'm quite content just, like, I'll pop a video on, or I'll play, like, yesterday I was playing Siege by myself because I wanted to do some shooting game. And it's like, that's fine, I'll just...
Yeah, see, I couldn't load up Siege by myself. I don't know what it is. There's something inside me says, like, if, say, like, our friends are busy, we can't get a team on, it's like, oh, I can't play it.
Like, a game like Siege or just a team game is way more fun when you've got your team of friends.
Yeah.
But I think because I've played COD for so many years solo, I'm quite happy. Like, I enjoy just the game process. I'm quite happy just to sit.
COD is something, like, this game, World at War, is something that I found I could load up and just play.
Yeah.
Not Siege. I feel like I need a team.
I think Siege is more tactical, though,
I feel like I want at least 3 people to play Siege. Because then you're, like, the majority of the team. But that's sort of a form of stress in itself, like you're saying, trying to relax, and it's not something that I've been very good at.
Yeah. But, I mean, going back to stress as well, talking about, how you don't like being touched or you don't like any it's not that, it's more you don't like any additional stimulus.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
because I'm overstimulated.
You're already in here, you're already overstimulated. Me doing, like, even in bed, like when I say night to you, if I touch you and go night, you have like a like last night I think I rolled over and I accidentally like did this to you and then you were like instantly itchy.
I am easily overstimulated. Yes.
But like, so you like not to be touched, and if I'm like really upset or I'm overwhelmed, for me, sometimes all I need is just a really big hug, and I'm like, right, that will help me, and then I'll talk it out. But you're the opposite, where you're like, do not touch me. Like, I don't want...
No, I'm not always like that.
You are.
No, not always.
You are. You are. I think you allow me to give you a hug. You do, particularly if you know it's like, if you can sense that, like, I want to comfort you. You allow me to comfort you, but maybe for like 2-3 seconds maximum. And then
I'll just want to be.
You'll do the squeeze thing where you're like, I'm done, and then I know to.
I'll just want my own space.
And I think I found that quite difficult. Like, obviously when we were first together, because I've always been like a comforting person and someone who wants to comfort people, and to have someone who I love so much who doesn't want that, I found that quite hard. But I think over years I've just learnt to like that's just the way you process it, and that's fine.
It's probably just part of, I don't know, autism or something.
Yeah, but
or hyperfocus.
But that makes sense. Like, I think, like I said, the better to look at it is you get overstimulated, and I respect that. Like, if you're overstimulated, I'm not going to make you feel worse. Me like giving you hugs is not going to help you. It's going to make you more stressed. It's going to prolong your stress. So I'd rather just give you the space. You know, I'm there if you need me. Like, if you're ruminating on something, like from college or whatever. At night, generally when we're getting ready for bed and we're chilled out, you'll talk to me then, and you'll go, I'm thinking about this. Yeah. Because you feel you've had the time to decompress. I'm not like being. I get
really stuck in my own head. It's like a puzzle I have to solve a lot of the time, find my own way through it.
You do talk about things openly though. Like, I think you've gotten a lot better at talking.
I don't know. I find it easier. I remember I think it was a video or an article. They're saying like men find it easier to talk. Like, I'm not looking at you right now, but. It's easier for me to talk. You noticed
I'm literally looking this way. Well, you haven't, but I'm looking...
No, but it's like when we're sat in the car driving somewhere, it's easier for me to talk. Whereas, like, apparently, this is just according to this video, like, women like to sit across from each other and talk face to face, whereas men like to be side to side. This is a completely different tangent.
No, that kind of makes sense, because often if I'm talking here, you're not looking at me and we have conversations and we're not looking at each other. But for example, I went to see my best friend the other day, We went
And
for
you're
lunch,
sitting
and I
face to
was
face.
sitting opposite her,
Yeah.
and we were talking for an hour and a half, just talking, and I was making eye contact the entire time. So I think that's actually quite.
Whereas when I go see
relevant.
my friends, it might be like we'll go for a walk. We're not looking at each other. We're walking.
You're doing activity where
or
you
we're
have
gymming.
to. You can be like around people, but not look at someone.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we can't look at each other because we might have like a little glance. And saying it like that sounds a bit weird now,
Yeah,
but
it
we're
does.
not staring at each other like
Yeah.
giving each other eye contact constantly.
But I think that is a legitimate thing, though.
Well,
Like,
it's just something to notice. Like you could go to town and look at people and just have a little assessment. Be like, how are people treating each other? How are people talking to each other?
it's not like a generalisation. Like it's not true of everybody, but
No.
I do think that if it was statistics we were looking at, that would probably be more in favour of, like, yes, men don't necessarily like stare into each other's eyes when they're having a conversation.
I don't know. But anyway, we've kind of gone off a bit topic here.
Yeah.
And that was what we were thinking about this morning. I was thinking about stress because I guess I'm very stressed a lot of the time.
Same.
No, I'm not really stressed a lot of the time. But anyway, that was our video on stress. If you enjoyed this topic today, maybe we'll talk about more. And if you leave a comment, say if you like this or not, maybe we'll do this again. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.